Welcome to Living by Oak Values. My friend Rob and I guide you through aligning your actions with your core beliefs. We are excited to share stories, insights, and the values that guide our lives. Whether you're a longtime listener or new here, welcome. Visit northmancoaching.com for your free toolbox and updates. Let's dive in. Happy listening.
And today we're going to talk about a value that is pretty well known, kindness. And I'm going to start us off with a story that I've heard since I was a kid. One day, a man was walking on the beach and he noticed a young boy kept throwing the starfish back into the ocean. The beach was covered with thousands of starfish that had washed up the night before. The man approached the boy and said, "Hey, why are you doing this? There's so many starfish. You can't make a difference." The boy picked up another starfish and tossed him into the ocean. And he said, "I made a difference to that one."
True kindness comes from a place of empathy and generosity, not expecting anything in return. It has the power to heal wounds, bridge divides, and remind us of our shared humanity.
And joining us today is one of my great friends, Parrish. He comes from the Navy and from the Philippines, the beautiful town of Bicol. He's a great man who loves his boys, and he spends his pastime roaming the states, working to become a better fisherman. Welcome, Parrish.
Thank you. Happy to be here.
Yeah. So tell us, what is kindness to you?
I would say that kindness is actually not one of my core values, the top five core values. But as I, think about it, I would say now that kindness is up there. It one of the reasons that it's one of the most important core values, that it kind of bridges, like what Garrett said. It connects people, right? And when you offer kindness without expecting in return, that builds true connection with other people. People feel loved, people feel accepted, people feel they are being heard.
Thank you. Do y'all know who Amelia Earhart is?
She's a pilot, right?
Yeah, she said something very similar to what Parrish just said. And she said there was a single act of kindness throws out its roots in all directions, and the root springs up to make new trees. And that it goes along with what Parrish says, is like it only takes a single act of kindness. And I have to agree with you, Parrish. It wasn't my first value, but the more I learn about it, it definitely is one up there in the high.
I know it's a value, but it's more like, for me personally, it's just the way I live. So being a mailman, I am constantly holding doors for people. Sometimes on my route, if someone's struggling with groceries to get in their car, I'll open their car door for them so they can get in their car. Today, I was delivering mail to one house, and she opened the door to get the mail, and her dogs ran out. And they were jumping all over me, and I couldn't make them stop. So I decided that I was going to walk into this lady's house so that they followed me back in the house and she could regain control of the dogs. So I did. And she was very happy that I walked into her house to get the dogs back in. So it's just like every day I find myself doing acts of kindness for nothing in return, just because it's the right thing.
So I used to be the nice guy, and I assumed that being nice and kindness were the same thing. And so as I learned that I didn't need to be a nice guy, I almost came to be rude and not nice, because I had to put myself first. And a lot of people were so used to me being kind and nice that they would take advantage of me. And so as I took care of myself, it almost came across that I was not being kind or nice. So
I get that.
And it took me a while to learn how to balance that back.
So people were asking you to do things for them.
Yes.
And as a nice guy, you were saying yes.
Yes. Thinking it was kind, thinking it was the right thing to do. Yes.
what I was just saying about everything that I do, like people don't ask me for these things,
Mm.
and I think that's the clear difference between being a nice guy and showing kindness.
Mhm.
If you ask me to do something, and I truly want to, and I have time, I will do it. But if I see you struggling, and I have time, even if I don't have time, honestly, I see you struggling, like outside, I will come to your aid or whatever if I can.
One thing I learned is that being more kind is like what Parrish said earlier, is listening to people.
Absolutely.
It is
I think
like the
that might be the
best. Yeah.
biggest act of kindness is to listen.
Yeah.
Because you can do kind things all day long to people, but if you don't actually listen to the words coming out of their mouth, then you don't know anything about what's going on.
Mhm.
I agree 100%.
When I think about kindness, one thing that first came out of my mind is tell myself I'm generous, because whatever I have in terms of money, resources, and time, I share that with other people. But I think being kind is more than that. It's more than the action that we do, right? It's it's the kind thought, it's the kind-hearted people that you are, right? It's about your intention that is true from the heart. I think that is, the essence of true kindness is just not about offering or giving whatever your resources you have to people that are in need, but like what you said, Gary, is that the act of listening, the act of being an open-hearted, and the act of sharing exactly your thoughts and empathy to others are struggling are very powerful, and people gets connected with that, right? uh,
So, Parrish, Rob was saying that you were from Bicol, which is in the Philippines, right?
right.
Why don't you tell the listeners and us and me, for I don't know everything about you. Why don't you tell everybody what about coming from Bicol to here to what got you on this podcast?
Coming to at this point is it was a long road for me. Grew up in the Philippines, joined the Navy, spent 24 years in active duty.
So you joined the United States Navy from the Philippines?
Yeah, from the Philippines. I was recruited there.
Okay.
And came straight from the Philippines, and I spent 24 years in active duty. Retired back in 2010, and upon retirement, I joined the DoD. So worked for the Military Sealift Command since 2011. So it's been a fun career since then, and then all that. So how did I get to join this podcast and this community? And main reason for that, my marriage ended a couple years ago, and I found myself alone and floating in the dark. It's struggling, at the bottom. That's what I would say. And I feel blessed, really, really feel blessed. I found a community of men, found Robert, and one of our, group meeting with the men, and connected. And since then, we talk regularly. I found him as one of my source of power, of being alive, and being not feeling alone anymore, and all that. And I feel very, very that opportunity to have friends and to have men who understand, who I would say kind, more than kind enough to listen and to feel my struggle, and to walk with me in my journey. So that's very kind of you there, Robert, and also, yeah, to Robert as well. And for both of you to kind of put together this community of men is huge for me. Huge for everybody, and a source of help for a lot of men that are actually going through this kind of difficulties.
Excellent. So would you recommend this kind of group to other people that are feeling alone or whatever?
Absolutely. Absolutely. I would tell you that I used to be, I would say, very arrogant. Why I would say that? Because not in a bad way, because I used to say I could do everything. I don't need I don't need counseling, I don't need coaching. When I'm struggling, I do it myself, right? I don't need to ask for stuff. That's how I kind of, live my life, particularly, living my personal life, right? I kind of very treat my life as very private. I don't share. I don't open up, right? I have many friends, but talking about personal life is hard one for me. And so having the community of man is very important. Man that you can trust, man that you feel safe, and I feel safe being with this community. Yeah. So I definitely recommend. And if anyone there, or struggling, regardless what problems are you going through, reach out, you know, and that's you'll find connection, uh, and you'll find a way to heal with a group of men like Robert and Gary.
It's funny what you just said about thinking you could do everything on your own. When my marriage ended, I thought I could do everything on my own as well. I guess it's just a man thing. And before I even got a coach, I went to the doctors because I couldn't sleep anymore. When I was going through my separation, I couldn't eat or sleep. I was losing weight and I was not looking very good. And they hooked me up with a therapist. And we talked a little bit. We didn't have a connection though. And so I stopped going. And then I found a new therapist and we hit it off. And then after talking to this woman for a while, I decided to hire a coach and do all this reading and join the men's community. And after about 6 months with this therapist, she said, you should maybe look into being a psychologist or a therapist like her. And I was like, oh, I am not going back to school ever again. And I don't think I could do this. And then I finished up with the coach that I had hired and got into this work, met Rob, and now I am doing what I said I couldn't do. But it's crazy though. A lot of men do think that we can do it all on our own. And it's like I told Rob yesterday or last week that what was about the wolf? The lone wolf dies alone, pretty much.
Yeah.
Wolves need packs, just like great men need groups.
How do you intentionally practice kindness in your daily life?
I would say that almost every time I would have to stop myself, because I've actually changed in so many ways, in simple ways and big ways to, to heal, right? And the way I do it, I would try to be gentle to myself, right? And be kind to myself first before I could be kind to anyone. And the way to do it, I have to do a lot of self-reflection, self-assessment, and one of the things I do that helps me out is meditating in the morning, praying, and reading self-help books. And that kind of opened up my eyes to how I view the world before, I would say, my past life. And I would tell you that it actually changed my life. But getting to this point is not easy. Why is that? Because I have to accept a lot of things in my life that are not good, and particularly those that are not good, right? And accept the fact that I have to change, right? Why is that? Because the only way for me to live forward is to, you know, kind of live my life with values, right? And and I would tell you, like what I said, that my core values, the five core values of what I have, kindness is not one of them. But as I look deeper into kindness, the true meaning of kindness, what I actually been doing in the last, I would say, couple of years is a complete turnaround in the way I do things in my life. And I would say, the big thing there is like being kind to myself, being gentle to myself, being gentle to my boys, and how I speak how I use my words. I would say that I'm very, very gentle now in how I speak, right? And there are still time I catch myself in speaking not gentle, not speaking nicely, and I would have to revert back to my intention, and that intention is basically, you know, live by my core values, right? And I think living by my core values is would I would say uh, equate to kindness,
Mm.
right? Because kindness basically, I would say that kindness would basically bring the other three, four values that I have, like, you know, courage. Courage basically is doing the right thing, uh, standing up for what is right, and in kindness basically it's directly related to that, because like when you see other people struggling, and what do, right? Do you just stand there and do nothing, or do what is right?
Mm.
Give up what you have, your penny, or your whatever you have left in your pocket as far as money or food, or just walk away, and having the courage to kind of help, even giving up what you have with what you have, as long as you don't give up. As long as it comes from your heart,
Mm.
I think that's the true kindness.
You actually remind me of a quote from Jackie Chan, and he was like, "It only takes one act of kindness and caring to change a person's life." And I have seen that a few times. And if it wasn't the kindness of the men in these groups, I don't think I would be here, to tell you the truth. If it wasn't the kindness of you, Gary, and you, Parrish, I don't think I would be here, to tell you the truth. Sometimes it takes that. Mm. And sometimes you don't know that you're being kind, but as long as you're being who you are, somebody else could see it as kindness, and they take it as kindness. So, Parrish, do you have a book that you would recommend to the listeners out there to read to help you practice kindness?
You know what? One thing why I walk away, because as we were talking, right?
Yeah.
One that came up to my mind, and I'm glad we're talking. I'm glad that we're here, because it brings me back to the first book that I've actually read, and this Holy Moment.
Oh, yes. That's
I go back.
yes.
You're welcome.
I'm glad again we were talking today, because I know I need to get back to my roots, right? And this book, Holy Moments, and I could recommend so many books to anyone, right? Because
Mm, yes.
last couple years I probably read 30 to 40 books. Listening while I'm driving to audiobooks, and then reading hard copies. But Holy Moments is very special to me, and I think this book actually talks about true kindness,
Yes.
and Holy Moments. In, simple ways to explain is, do one simple kindness. It doesn't have to be big.
Mm-hmm.
Anything that comes from your heart, right? That you don't expect in return is one big holy moment. And find something every day that you could do. That is what the book calls a holy moment, right? Yeah, I'd recommend that book.
Doggone it. Thank you, Parrish. I forgot about that book.
Yeah.
I even brought that to Taiwan with me, actually.
You guys can thank my mom for that, all right? Really, you should give her a shout out. She listens to it. She'll love that. She'll love that.
Yeah. I think Gary recommended it to me.
I did. My mom sent it. My mom sent me a copy of that book.
Yeah.
I read it. I loved it. And I realized you can get like 6 free copies. So I got my 6.
I sent it to Parrish, didn't I? Did I send it to you, Parrish? I don't remember.
He must have.
Yeah, must have. Yeah.
Yeah, I got my 6 free copies. I sent one to you, and I still have 2 here.
And I want to say a special shout out to Pam Hults for sending that book to your son, him sending it to somebody else, and passing it on to somebody else, and it goes around in a big circle. So somebody, please reach out to us and
claim those last 2 books.
And claim those last 2 books. So Pam can send more books to her son Gary. Thank you.
So if anybody wants them,
reach out to us.
Reach out, comment on the podcast when it comes out. Let me know what's up. I will hook you up. So I just want to say one more thing on kindness. So like Parrish was saying, like that book says, all it takes is one simple act. It doesn't take you don't have to work real hard at it at all, really. And your act of kindness could inspire me to act kind, and my act could inspire Rob to show kindness to somebody else. And it's like a ripple effect that goes on, and it never really stops as long as you keep promoting the kindness. I'm not going to get into details on this, but I have not always been a kind person, especially toward the end of my marriage. I was a very angry person. And even back in the military, like I think I was a pretty happy-go-lucky kind of guy, but I did things that were so stupid that were bad to people. And looking back, I wish I could go back in time and apologize or make up for what I've done to some people, but fortunately I can't do that. So all I can do is move forward with acts of kindness and help as many men as I can. Hopefully that will make up for my wrongdoings of my past. Good?
Yep. And that's a wrap. Thanks for hanging out with us today on Living by Oak Values. If you love what you heard, hit that subscribe button and stick around for more inspirational conversations. Got thoughts or want to dive deeper? Share your story or snag a free session at northmancoaching.com. Oh, and if you got a story worth sharing, why not be a guest on the show? Drop us a line. We love to hear from you. Join us again next week for another inspiring episode. Until then, keep embracing your values and stay authentic.